Okay. Have you ever felt like you're kind of like stuck in a loop in your relationships?
Hmm.
Like your reactions are maybe a bit too much, or maybe you shut down a little when things get real?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Well, today we are going to deep dive into attachment theory
Okay, cool.
and see if it explains, well, us.
Sounds good.
Basically, it looks at how our bonds way back when shape who we are now with partners, friends, you name it.
It all goes back right to how we were raised, like
Exactly.
how our caregivers, interacted with us early on.
So then it's like we get this blueprint for all our relationships going forward.
Yeah, it's like this working model in our heads based on those early experiences.
Okay, so then what are the different blueprints?
Well, the main ones we look at are secure, anxious, avoidant,
And disorganized.
right, disorganized. Each of these is going to show up differently in how we act with others.
All right, let's start with what sounds the best, secure attachment.
Yeah, that's the one we're all aiming for.
So what's that look like in a person?
Imagine someone really comfy with being close, but also being on their own.
Okay.
They can trust their partner, they're open about their feelings.
No playing games.
Exactly. And when there's a fight, they don't freak out.
They see it as like an opportunity.
To work through stuff, grow closer.
Makes sense. Now, how does someone become secure?
A lot of it comes down to childhood. If your caregivers were reliable, they're for you.
You felt safe.
You knew your needs would be met, so that builds trust.
So no matter what, you were good.
And that carries into adulthood, even how you handle emotions, understanding your own mind and other people's. It's fascinating.
So basically, good parenting.
Pretty much.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, now, anxious attachment.
This one can be tough.
What makes it different from secure?
Think of someone who needs a lot of reassurance, always worried about the relationship.
Between me, maybe?
Yeah, they might overthink every little thing, get triggered easily if their partner seems distant.
Like checking their phone all the time.
Exactly, needing constant validation.
Exactly.
For sure, and it often comes from inconsistent caregiving as a kid.
So sometimes their needs were met, sometimes not.
Right, so they never really knew what to expect, leading to this anxiety in relationships.
Trying to get that reassurance they never fully got.
Exactly, but it can push people away.
Sad cycle.
It is.
Okay, what about avoidant? Does that mean they just stay single forever?
Not always, but they might keep their distance in relationships.
So they can be in one, but not really in it.
Yeah, they value their independence, having their own space.
Not too lovey-dovey.
Right, and they might struggle with opening up, sharing feelings.
Like they'd rather just logic it out?
Yeah, and prioritize being self-reliant.
So why do they do that?
Often it goes back to caregivers who weren't emotionally there for them.
So they learn to just rely on themselves.
Exactly, bottle up those emotions.
But doesn't that make it hard to really connect?
It can, but it's their way of protecting themselves, avoiding getting hurt.
Okay, that makes sense.
And there's research showing they still feel things deeply, they just don't show it.
Wow, so much going on under the surface.
Right.
So, disorganized attachment, this one sounds extra complicated.
It is, because it's like a mix of anxious and avoidant.
So, wanting closeness, but also fearing it?
Exactly. So their behavior can be unpredictable, confusing.
They're all over the place.
Yeah, sending mixed signals might seem overwhelmed in the relationship.
They don't know whether to pull you closer or push you away.
Right. It's like they're battling with themselves.
So, where does that come from?
Often it's linked to early trauma, neglect, or really inconsistent parenting.
So, their safe haven was also their source of fear.
Exactly. That messes with their whole idea of what relationships are.
Makes sense. That would be confusing.
It is.
Okay, so we've talked about each style separately, but what happens when you put them together?
Like in a couple.
Yeah, like what if someone's secure and their partner's anxious?
That's where things get interesting. Imagine the anxious partner is worried about their partner going out without them.
To a work thing, maybe?
Right, and they start texting nonstop, needing reassurance.
The secure partner's like, what's going on?
Yeah, they get it, but it can feel overwhelming.
So it backfires.
It can.
So how can couples with different styles make it work?
Communication is key. The secure partner needs to realize it's not personal, it's the anxiety talking.
And be patient?
Exactly, and the
Uh-huh.
anxious partner can work on expressing their needs directly without the need for constant reassurance.
It's a two-way street.
Always is.
So can people change their attachment style?
Absolutely. It's not set in stone.
Oh, thank goodness.
Right. Therapy can help, self-reflection, and being in a healthy relationship.
So you can unlearn those old patterns.
You can. It takes work, but it's possible.
That's so good to hear. Is there anything a secure partner can do to help?
They can be a rock, offering that consistent support Open communication.
And setting healthy boundaries.
Exactly. That creates a safe space for the other person to open up, feel more secure.
I've learned so much from this deep dive.
Me too.
We've covered all 4 attachment styles
Secure, anxious, avoidant, disorganized.
and how they play out in our communication, conflicts, and intimacy.
It all connects.
But the big takeaway, we're not stuck with what we learned as kids.
We can grow.
We can build better relationships.
Absolutely.
So think about your own relationships. What patterns do you see?
How does your style and your partners affect how you interact?
That's something to really think about.
It is.
I know I am. This deep dive was amazing.
Thanks.
And if you want to learn more about attachment styles and parenting, or how culture plays a role,
Oh yeah, that's a whole other layer.
stay tuned. We'll be doing more deep dives on those topics.
Looking forward to it.
Me too.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.